All right, I'm here joined by my fellow East New York native, King Tone. How you doing, my brother?
I'm good. I'm blessed. You know, the Lord has been doing great things. So just good to be in New York again, visiting. And like you see, man, just trying to make it happen for the young adults and people that are, swaying away from living that straight life.
I was telling you before the interview, and I'll say it on camera, man. While you were going through your case and you lived on Hemlock and Etna, I lived literally a couple blocks away on Hemlock and Fulton Street. So I'm really from there, and I don't know. Maybe you know his name. There used to be a Puerto Rican dude, long hair. He used to have the Puerto Rican flag on his motorcycle. He used to ride up and down. He was a Latin king. All on Hemlock. I don't know his name, but I'm sure
it's Blue.
Okay, so that's how you know I'm really from East New York, yeah. And I know you grew up on Euclid and Pickin.
Yeah, that's home.
My friend lived there. I used to go there all the time. I grew up one stop away on Grant Ave. You take the A to Grant Ave.
Of course, I know Grant.
So I used to be at Euclid all the time. My friend, he lived on Euclid and Pickin in the basement, and I used to hang out with him all the time. So I'm talking to somebody who grew up where I grew up. But you grew up there at a different time. You grew up there in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Tell me how East New York was in the 70s and 80s.
Well, try this. I was born 66, so 70, 80s, and I don't like telling my age yet, but I'm a little old. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a different era, right? Heroin was running rapid. It was an oppressed community. Mm-hmm. Fathers didn't move in the girls. They took them out.
Oh, man.
And it was funny because I used to walk around and say, because, I used to see TV and you see those World War II and you see when they bomb things. Mm-hmm. And I would walk East New York and I go, damn, we never been in a war here, but everything is blown up. It's burned down. So I was wondering, when did the war go down here, Mm-hmm. And that was what it looked like, right? It looked like we've been through a war. And it was a tough time for the Latino and the other, I call them, right? The brown, the black, finding their way and trying to find an economy to sustain.
Okay.
So you see poverty, but you see good people, right? Trying to find the way. So that's how it was. It was a very tough time with drugs and the misfit economy. Mm-hmm. But we still had that family-orientated community, right? Even though I do wrong, I help to do right.
Yeah, you were like, he's from my block, so it was kind of like that mentality. It really didn't matter if you were black or Puerto Rican, Dominican. He's from Euclid. That's it.
And his profession either, right? He helps us when we need a little rent. He'll lend us the money. We pay him back what the bank wouldn't do for us. Mm-hmm. So that was the kind of atmosphere there, and very, very racist police force and educators. They still were seeing the Latino and the Puerto Rican migration type of like, what are you doing? Don't speak Spanish. I remember when we were told that. Don't speak Spanish in class.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's so funny.
Don't speak. And it wasn't only them. It was the brothers, too, right? Don't speak Spanish. You might be talking about us. So you were like, whoa, you start being fear of your culture. So it was a very tough time to find out who I was, right, and how did I fit in that puzzle called the American Dream.
Oh, okay. Well, you spoke on the police force. The precinct, the 75th precinct.
The 75th.
Is especially around that time, 70s and 80s, was known as kind of like a corrupt. Yeah. Did you know Michael Dow? Did you have experiences with?
So Matt, I was just gonna say that if people want to know, Netflix got a good documentary on the 75th precinct. Mm-hmm. So the provider, right? They were like Robin Hood, the police. They took from the plenty drug dealer and created those who got rid of it for them, drug dealer. So you had that going on. And they were like the middleman of what happened. And if you took care of them, your spot was able, it wasn't TV, this isn't Hollywood. You were able to flourish and function, and the guy who couldn't, didn't. So in those experiences, 75th was where I got my first arrest when I was around, I would say 10 years old, 11.
Wow.
Yeah, I was going to 159 right on Pickin Avenue.
Okay.
And those bullies, I have 4 sisters, and I say it a lot. The drug dealer, the rich man, the poor man, all of them are working for something for that girl to catch their eye, right? And I have 4 of them to win over, and I'm an only boy, and I'm second to youngest, so the start. So the really thing is I had to be tough. Because, you know, in Spanish, your father says, tú eres el hombre de la casa when he's gone. So I was the man at 9, protecting my sisters. And there was a lot of disrespect going on. And as a little dude, walking ball-legged and light, I had to do something to prove to the rest of the wolves my sisters ain't it, you know, and even though I'm small, so I caught my first case, you know, with an attempt, you know, it was a homemade gun and all that, but 9 years old, a tough neighborhood. You know, Pachi, the name they gave me at home, wasn't working. So I had to create that idol, that image that was a little stronger, a little tougher name. And that's what, you know, Tone came around and I started working. But yeah, that was my first experience with 75th. And then as I got more into that lifestyle, I started meeting the cops that were like, yo, don't worry, we know you, what you want to do.
Did you ever pay off a cop back in the day? You could talk about it now. It's past.
Yeah, well, it isn't I paid off. It was, I knew, they told me where it was at. I was that dude. You know, you and your crew, this is where they at, this is where they're going to be. We know they stash it there. You know, if you're willing to go, this is what we want. We leave that, you could go get that. And I used to shut down stores and spots that wasn't paying bills. So I seen it like, you can't extort me, but if you tell me where it's at, I'll shut it down and I'll take me, you know what I mean? So yeah, I dealt with cops like that, you know, who turned a blind eye and give you information. But it was crazy because you don't understand, you really don't know that they're winning either way.
Yeah.
And at a young age, you know, it's one of my most experience that started making me believe that everybody was corrupt.
Well, what do you think of cops now? I actually interviewed a cop, a retired NYPD sergeant, and he says that the police department has improved a lot since back in the 70s and 80s. He actually is from East New York as well. His name is Felipe Gomez. Yeah, he spoke about how a lot has changed. How do you feel about policing now?
So my program, you know, we'll get to that. I'm in a new life. So one of the biggest changes was when you help people that are justice involved, young adults, you can't scream at the cop no more. You can't scream at the probation officer no more. You got to communicate because you're no longer, it's not about you, it's about the person that you're trying to help. So what I found out in this long walk in life that it's like every other thing. You got good, you got bad, and you got ignorant. The police force, like when you tell me, what do you think about cops? Individually, I think you find the good, the bad, and the ugly. But as an institution, it's a sad fact. They're almost as bad as a gang that takes your child. Because they don't want you to be Puerto Rican, right? They want you to be a police. And a police comes with rules. They come with the blue wall of silence. You never tell on a police, but they convince you to tell on your community member. So what I'm seeing, that is changing a lot. It isn't running rapid, that ignorance put in the police force. So I do this thing called the Police Academy, Community Police Academy, where we take the cadets that are being trained, and they got to do 3 days with me, Dr. Devine, and other community activists.
Who have served time before.
Served time or never did serve time, and mothers, but live in the community. And after they got that 9 months full of that training of what you're going to do to police the community, we tell them now, here's the 3 days where you learn where you work for the community. And this is how community sees a good police officer and how we see respect should look. So the black brother and the Spanish brother who was a cadet, so people could understand how it is. They're in my circle, right? And they came with the, you know, when you start wanting someone to have sympathy for you and, yo, I became a cop to help my people, but it's my people now that call me pig, and they, you know, and you could really feel he was saying like, damn, man, I got in here to change it. I said, my brother, I hear what you're saying, but they're not talking to you. They're talking to the badge. You came to change, but the badge hasn't. So if you take on that cross, carry it. Because change don't come on the badge. It comes through you showing the badge can change. So you got to be strong enough to take that, because that's 100 years history with that badge. You only got 9 months on the job. So they're telling you, are you going to become the badge, or are you going to be the man and who you are with a badge? So I told them, don't let that discourage you. It ain't you, right? Mm-hmm. If you're not a racist, then that's the badge. That's not me. And I know I'm in an institution that earned that. But as your beat cop, your Latino brother, I'm going to show you that I operate still with humanity in the way I'll serve you, because I'm your servant. And he was like, look at him, and the people seeing it, because I told them the same music. He comes here, and you heard what we're doing to him. So when you talk to a Latino and black cop, you could be the one who turns him to believe what they're teaching them in some of those precincts, that you're losers, you can't let them manipulate your mind. If you start seeing the grace and the love in them when they try to do something right as a police officer, commend that behavior. And you talk against what isn't right. And you'll see more Latino cops and black cops will stand in the precinct when they hear racism, say, yo, don't talk that here. I'm still one of them. I'm still Puerto Rican at heart. But I'm just a beacon of what a good Puerto Rican cop look like. I don't want to be Irish. I don't want to be in the traditions that y'all carry in this precinct. I'm going to break that shit. I'm here to change that ceiling. It's not an easy task. Like when I wanted to change the Latin Kings, that shit just didn't happen overnight. I had to know that the Kings had a reputation. You get it? So
I get it.
When they say you were killers, I say, you're right. What am I going to say, right? But I'm changing that.
Okay. All right.
So that's how I feel about police, right? At any color. Brother, if you humane and you're doing it right and you show me the respect that you loving on my people and you showing my kids how to get there without the cuffs, and when they have to get cuffs, you do it with respect and honor, brother, that's your profession. I ain't got nothing with you. And 99% of cops who had my case for the 8 years they were chasing me, that's the one thing I respect about you is business with you. I never personalized their job, and I didn't want to personalize my job. You get it? And that's how I deal with it.
Okay. I want to circle back into how you got into the Latin Kings. I want to start off by saying this story that I heard you in another interview say, where that somebody pulled you to the side. You was wilding out in Rikers Island, and it was like you mad because you're stupid. And then he pulled out a paper and he asked you to read it, and you couldn't read it. He goes, yeah, that's why you acting that way, because you're stupid. And I want you to, one, say that person's name and what effect did that have on you, that moment?
Yeah, it was, wow. It was like 88.
Okay.
And I was in Rikers Island, and I was in C-95. And C-95 had over 800 Puerto Ricans in it. They call it Little Puerto Rico. And that was our jail. So in all essence, the Kings were coming up as a power group in the island against the God bodies, the Muslims. Like, we were the minority, right? We couldn't keep our sneakers on because they are numbers, and the few that could with names, you self-protect, right? It ain't for the whole Latino, it's for self. So I went in there pretty ignorant. I thought the way was to fight color and just self-sustain myself. And, fighting for the phone, because I had to get the respect. And I ain't had nobody call. I was smoking crack. My family stopped loving me. I wanted just to hold it, right? Like, hold it, I got somebody to call. So my brother, King Mafia, old school, right, he come up to me, and I'm starting all kind of shit there. And he's like, like you said, yo, Tone, man. He didn't even know. He said, yo, dude, come here, man. You starting shit all over this house, and it's stopping, And he told me, bro, you stupid, why you doing this? And what's good? So he gives me the lesson, the first page, right? But he had a clue, like, why you so angry, man? Who you angry at? Like I say, who you angry, me or yourself, right? Who you really fighting here? So he told me, look at that. This is special. And when I look, I try to because I left school at 3rd grade, right? I found that the teacher called me stupid like that. And I was like, this dude is crazy calling me that. And really quickly he said, now I want to show you that you don't even know who you are. You don't know how to read. You don't know how to write. And he took 2 strong king brothers. He said, we're going to put you in your cell for 3 days and you better learn this. And the 2 brothers sat with me and tutored me and said, you got to remember this, you got to remember this, and you got to remember this. So I started reading about Lolita Lebron, Rafael Miranda, things that were real interesting.
Who are these people, Lolita Lebron?
Lolita Lebron and Rafael Miranda are part of the people, if you ever heard, that went into the House of Representatives and cuffed themselves to the ground and shot it up and screamed freedom for Puerto Rico. It was at the time when Puerto Rico was being oppressed and we wanted our recognition. So they were doing acts like the Young Lords and the Vice and all the Black Panthers to get the recognition that Puerto Rico was being bombed in Yeques and were denied rights. So they were heroes. So he was trying to tell me, do you know you come from blood of heroes and activists? We didn't just bow down and become servants and slaves to the capitalistic pigism, right? That's what he called it. So these people fought against it. And he told me their names, so it started calling me interest. And he started telling me, you know what's a Puerto Rican? It's not waving the flag. Do you know what the pride is about? So that's what he did. He gave me a history lesson. He started taking me through the path of who is Puerto Rico, where is Puerto Rico, why, and what are we fighting for, and why we have to recognize. So that's what those people are, and that's who he was. And in short, after they locked me in, I learned that I figured out I could learn. Because I believed in 3rd grade when they told me I was stupid and I couldn't spell it and I would never amount to nothing. I heard it long enough that I started believing in it. And he cracked that like, nah, bro. I remember and I teach that to my kids. He said, yo, you can hate the people that teach you. You can hate the places they teach you in. And you can hate the lies they tell you. But you can never hate learning. Learn anywhere, Tone. And now it's going to be in your cell. Lock your ass in. And as they locked me in, I had to deal with self and read. And then when I came out after about 3 months, I was like, I'm ready. And I memorized 22 pages of beautiful literature from the Latin kings that changed my life. And when I was at my worst, they seen something good in me. They seen hope in me. And that's why in 98, I hit the knee and I became a Latin king.
In 98 or 88?
89.
89. Okay. And what I know you as the leader, like as far as my memory of you both back in East New York, both what I've read on seen on TV or read in the newspapers, I know you as the leader. What was Tone like as a soldier Latin king, as a 1 year Latin king, 2 year Latin king? What was the type of stuff you were doing?
Well, a lot of people thinks the gangs all day is to hurt people, beat people, right? It's the image they. All day was trying to survive, right? And it was trying to find brothers like me to be able to unite and find something to feed us. If you believe, 99% of the indictments on gangs are about a lot of things, but it's never really about money. That's cartels, that's drug gangs, right? But the real street gang, the sex survivors and the ones that are in the hood, they're dead ass broke. They want a lot of respect, but nothing to get it with, right? No collateral. So most of my ability, when I came out, I already was starting to get the education, get it? And I knew who I was, and I knew that there was a lot of Latin kings out there. So when I went out, I left the jail like that. There's an army out there I could put together. And I could do what Lolita did, what Oscar did, what the Black Panthers did. But it's going to take work. It was in the back of my mind. I was thinking it, but too scared to speak it yet. Because the leaders above me wasn't hearing that shit. So the only way to get to those leaders is to be able to walk the street and show them that you could win the street, right? So first year Latin King is like everybody. When you call, you go. And when you go, you come back. You try to come back the best you can. And sometimes you go and you find out, why did I go? And why? And did I really have to? You get it? Can I question that? Could I tell them, yo, that was really some dumb shit you sent me on, bro? So if I'm scared to talk, how could this be about love? So I started as a young dude winning over the quiet ones and the ones with big eyes, but wanted to be Latin Kings, but didn't want to talk against the Latin King culture.
I got you.
So you get it? So I started teaching them, why is the bully the leader and not us who are trying to figure it out, but are more thinking, yo, let's end the violence, let's end this, let's kind of love each other for real, right? Not the street love. So that was my first, when I came home in 92, 91, 92. Mm-hmm. And that was my mission.
Your goal was to seek out which ones have a positive mindset, feed them, and then eventually work your way up the ranks.
And work with, not work up, earn our way to have a voice in the ranks.
I got you. Okay.
And that's only done by sacrifice of self, but then going out and showing them how to go the other way when they give you a dumbass mission. Could we still accomplish our goal without the violence?
Okay.
And that was where people love when you show them the other way. You rather go back home to your wife and kids on a mission than go do 20 years in jail. You follow the leader that brings you back home. Not the one who says, well, fuck it, you earned your stripes, but you're there and you ain't getting a letter. So Tone became that dude. Yo, let's go with Tone. We're coming back home.
I love that story, man. That is a great outlook to have as a leader for your soldiers, essentially being confident that they can come back home. If you know what, you ever have that friend that your mom be like, don't hang out with him. You know, King Tone was the friend that your mom goes, hang out with King Tone. I like his message better, and that's great, man. But before you were the leader, you obviously were doing that, working your way up with this positivity movement. The leader at the moment was King Blood, Luis Felipe. And I want to talk about his case and how you brought the Latin Kings to the crowd and spoke on how you trying to change the meaning of what being a Latin King is. And meanwhile, the leader was in jail fighting, some murder cases that he had sent out to kill people from behind the wall. And I want you to talk to me about that case. What did that mean for you and your experience as a member of the Latin King during that experience?
Well, yeah, Luis Felipe, may the Almighty have him in his hands. He's got over 38 years right now in solitary confinement. He was the only man in the United States of America sentenced to 175 years. 75 years of that done without visits, phone calls, mail, or a lawyer. He is completely buried alive. The Unabomber didn't go through that, and none. And I'm just saying the outcome of that, the behaviors that we thought were never gonna come to pass, that you got to pay a bill. Right? You got to pay the bill after whatever you do. So if I tell all you kids that are seeing that gram shit and all that, I'm getting bodies, there's a bill to pay at the end of the road. Just because they ain't there don't mean they don't see you. So with that, so Luis Felipe was a Cuban immigrant. He came with the Marielitos, if people don't know. It's Scarface movie you see when they just send everybody out. And he came and he worked for himself from Miami to Chicago. And in Chicago, his mother left him when he was like 4. His father was abandoned. So in Cuba, he was raised in jail. And the jail in Cuba was different. And you come to America and you don't got no parents, you ain't got nobody, and you did most of your life in there, right? So you come in here as a pimple, full of love, ready to pop, right? And when he went over to Chicago, he found the brothers over there, and it was very violent, and he worked his way. You know, when you run from one state to the next state, he comes to New York, and he finds himself, in oppression that led to some behaviors that are noted and found. And then when he had the case for Murders in the Kings that was saying, hey, you send and all what you spoke about, while it was happening, I couldn't understand how a man that's in solitary confinement then, and his feet, his arms, his eyes can't touch you, but still he was getting credit for that behavior that a human being did outside the jail, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like, one, how do you leave his visit and go do it if you don't agree with it? 2, or is it really we're bringing him everything he wants and then he gives me what I want most? That guy over there, he kissed my girl, or you tell him about the behavior, and if you know, if you Louis, if I brought you all these gifts, what's the only gift you could give me? What I want. And most of us were ignorant what we wanted from him. We wanted power. And power comes with violence in the street. So I believe a lot of it was really people bringing him things that he agreed to. I'm in the shoe. I need this dude to keep coming, right? I'll agree, which is ignorant, right, of his behavior. But what I wanted to say, it wasn't only him. It was, like I told you, a slew of leaders, a few within it, that found to use him was to gain power and bring fear to continue. So when I seen that happening, like I said, I found that there was a lot more guys that disagree with things than agreed. And when I got the power to have a voice with them, then I brought them the right visit. I brought them the visit with a baby in the arm of a sister and 3 sisters, no drugs, nothing to hand you. But yo, do you know these is who dying? Do you know these dudes that coming to see you, that's all they want from you? We want to show you the family. We want you to start giving us hope through your messages. And for the first time, he wrote a manifesto speaking like that. Sometimes people write what they can't do, but they wish they could be. And he brought us a hope of light. And that was the first time I got confidence that if we could guide him and show him what love looks like for real, we could convert him to move himself away from those kind of leaders and start listening to leaders like me. And what I told Felipe, I remember I said, yo, dude, what you don't understand, what's sweet to the mouth is going to be sour in your stomach.
And you guys would have phone conversations or only letters?
Well, at that time, he could call.
Okay.
He could visit. He was a regular inmate.
Okay.
He wasn't at the level where they put him, So, yeah, so going through that and seeing and growing as a king in that culture. And let me make it really, most of the guys in power groups are looking for an answer to get ahead. But the economies and the things that get you ahead are the quick ones. Extortion, drug stealing, violence, right? So I said, how about if I replace murder with hope? Extortion with knowledge, and then put opportunity in front of them. Which one would they really choose, right?
Yeah.
And it was more that said, like I said, we're gonna be with our wives longer. We're gonna get a job. We don't have to go out there and always fight. They were like, yo, the votes start going, and then I won. Felipe from jail, I was reaching him. Get it?
Yeah.
I was working from jail to reach him, and he finally said, maybe you're making sense, motherfucker. And I said, well, it's too late for you. You're going to face the music now. And this is my promise to you. If you apologize to our people, we will be behind you to the end, because every man should have the opportunity to repent. And in his worstest mistake, that's not who he is. You could show the world who you really want to be. And he said, it was like weird, right? Like, sorry? You don't tell your leaders say sorry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What the fuck you mean sorry? Who I'm sorry for? And we love you. And that's big. And so while he was suffering through that, as you see, I gave him strong support. I always showed him, I'm the face of it, but you're still the leader. I don't want that power. What I want is a conversion of you to see what we could be like if we're not oppressed by our own. And he bought into it, right? He bought in enough to let me lead, to give me official while he was going through that. And other men with him, good, other kings will hear him say, yo, we already fell. We lost this. We got this ugly case. Let's try crazy ass Tone's way. You know what I mean? So they gave the yay. Even those that used to not think like me say, yo, give him the yay. And they voted me in with him. And then he gave me the letter, right? Yo, dude, this is yours. And I'm like, no, I don't want that, because if you become the head, a lot of movements like King, Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, when the movement got one face, you cut off the head, the body falls. As Louis Felipe. But if the people are the head, and there's a lot of King Tones in the crowd, there's always someone to stand up if you have to go. There's another voice that says, no, the tradition doesn't stop with him. This is not just him. This is a culture now. This is a movement, right? So Felipe, sadly, he got sentenced on that case to that 175 years. He's been there since 95, but he was in jail before that 15 years. We're talking about almost 50 years in jail. And to this day, he still hasn't got a visit. He hasn't got a phone call. And he hasn't had a lawyer to represent him to try to just not get him home, but to get him in a population. So if you ask me, yeah, I'm sorry. I'll say sorry for him. And I know if you were 50 years by yourself, you look in the mirror and start saying, damn, was it worth this? But I know before he left, he's seen his nation 3,000 deep, marching with the Mothers Against Police Brutality, going into school, going into shelters and chasing out. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He was like, fuck it, I could go now. You get it? Like, I see.
Okay.
And that's how I wanted him to go.
That's how you wanted his last memory of freedom to be.
To be, if you can't be free, we'll be free for you.
That's amazing. Wow. Oh, man. But when you heard that sentence, like when you heard it, because nobody was expecting that, what went through your heart? What went through your mind?
Wow, people don't act. So I could give the vision. He had a 30-day trial for a month. They put 28 days. I'm just going, right? Because Saturday, Sunday is closed, but they make it up. So it still went 30 days. It was the prosecution. His defense put the 2 hours. So imagine you heard 30 days and then now we rest, speak for blood. They put my videos. They put the work I did. We did as a nation for him. And then it was over. We rest. So we were his only defense for him. Wow. To show positive, to show growth. And then when we stand up and Judge Martin comes up and he talks and he says, listen, I'm not going to kill you. He said just like that. And the DA didn't invite, and I'm going to sentence you to 145. He told him, you are my slave now.
He said that.
Yeah, you're burying you. You'll never, ever, ever. Nobody asked, this judge sentenced that. That's his own decision from the bench and sentenced to what it said. So I'm with my daughter that's 2 years old. I'm surrounded by federal cops. I got 500-600 kings outside of the court and 50 with me. And when I heard it, he looked back at me. And me and him, let's make this clear to show you. I never touched King Blood. I never met him face to face. I've never been in a jail with him. And I was loyal to him like I was loyal to God. Today, I still send King Blood money. Never could write him, never could visit him, but I still treat him as he was there when I promised him, I'm going to be what love looked like for you. I'm not writing you for power, but you're still getting from Grow Up, Grow Out Jr., my corporation, a little check so you could eat every month wherever you at. I don't know where you at and what you're doing. We know he's NDX, but I'm still loving him. Get it? So it was the most fearful time in my moment, but I knew it did what I wanted to prove to the masses that came with me. This what happens when you think you could do what the fuck you want. And if you think they ain't got a place for you, remember blood. So if you got 2,000 now after the sentence, and I lost it, right? I was blinded. I'm confused because then you go, what do I do now, right? Where do I go? He's not here no more to protect me. He's not here no more to give me advice. He's not more to fight the enemy with me. Now it's really King Tone's show. Are you ready for this? So I left the court, and there was about 700-800 kings, and then they more joined. And I was walking around chambers and in the federal court in circles. So the cops came, they surrounded helicopters, said, Tone, there's a park over there. To show you, your main cop came up to me and said, I know you fucked up right now, but they're following you. And do you notice you're walking in circles and you got a tail that we're about to cause chaos on because you can't block all the streets. You can't do this, Tone. You got a rally here without a rally. And it was already about 8 o'clock. He got sentenced at 4.
Okay.
And I shook it. And God said, you wanted to lead? Lead. So we got in the park, we did a big circle, and we got on our knees and we prayed. Because I started teaching the kings, when we're the strongest and we look the most scary, let's pray. Because people ain't used to gangsters getting on their knees and praying, right? And I prayed that night and I told God, I don't know where I'm going, what I'm doing, and how we're going to do it. But let me depend on you to make choices so I don't end up like my godfather. And please keep them in your hands. And from that day, that moment, I didn't look back.
Do you think that solitary confinement, there should be a limit to it? Because I to give you a little bit of history of me, I went to college. I went to Hunter College, and I took a human rights class. And one of the human rights that we have is torture. That's a violation of my human right if you torture me. Is solitary confinement for 45 years torture?
You don't have it in any other country. Only in dictatorship countries. Only where we're raiding people and saying we're breaking these guys who've been in jail 30 years and they don't know why, right? There's a why there. But what sane country and judge puts a man away for 45 years never to see another human? When God made us to be in contact of humans, it's the only way we grow, it's the only way we learn. It's the only way we repent, right? When you have someone there to talk to you. So yes, it's torture. I remember I wrote a chapter for Brown University, the abolitionists, and other 12 people like me that were living in the shoes. So I got to experience the shoe for about 5 years in Rikers Island. But I did 3 straight in the feds the same way. But I was sad they wouldn't put me where Blood is in ADX because I was there and they said, you don't even got a record like him. Like, we can't put you there, but we could fly you in shoes through 13 different prisons in the feds. I used to 6 months fly to the next one. And it wasn't bus therapy, it was plane therapy, right? And I remember I used to try to mail my mother a letter, and when it got back to the jail, I was in another jail. But I was in the shoe, buried in the basement, And to keep it real, 3 years is hard.
I could only imagine.
It was hard, right? But why my strength was, bro, 3 years, bro, 1 year? Think of Blood, right? And I said, damn, he's got 15 in. So you get what I mean? When you realize someone's got it worse than you, you toughen up, right? You go, okay, let's do it to him. So yes, it's torture. It's inhumane. And what it does, if America could think, you go, why these guys come out so crazy and so hard and so reverse? Because we're not in there loving on them. There's no rehabilitation there. Fear is the base of their trying to change you. And everybody knows if you choose fear for a change base, what you create is remorse, anger, resentment, and those are the returning guys you see. So what I promised myself when I got out of there, that's where I wrote my program, wrote what I was going to do when I came out the feds. See, I had a plan. And I started talking to the plan, thinking of the plan, and preparing myself for the day that I would get out of here. So I made it through those 3 years and another 9 years, really rechanging myself, rethinking my foundations, and understanding when I came out the feds, I couldn't be the Latin Kings leader. I had to be the leader of a peaceful movement for the community. I'm still a king. I still love them. I still preach to them. I'm never going to denounce the people who love me when the Boy Scouts wouldn't take me. Or the Marines, or the Army to give me a chance to show them I could fight for them. So I always give high regards to my guys, but I still talk to their stupid behavior. Because if you're going to tell a dirty cop he's dirty and you killing and you're messing up you better be able to tell it to your blood brother, to your Crip brother, and to your King brother. Because if you don't, you a coward in disguise. You're ready to scream at the other man hurting your community, but you're not ready to scream at yourself. And that's what I did for them 3 years. I looked in the mirror and I screamed at my dumbass self. You got good intentions, you got good abilities, but are you using them for the right purpose? And are you really living the one life, not two? So I came out of there reassured, re-strengthened, and re-energized to do what I knew I really wanted to do, was to empower my people. Now it's not just the kings, I want it for the Bloods, the Crips. I want it for, and you get it? I want it for anybody I come across that's going through that phase in their life where they don't know who they are but want to be somebody.
I got you. I kind of wanted to talk about this case, the Abner Louima case. Abner Louima, for those who don't know, was a Haitian immigrant. He was involved in a nightclub fight, was arrested, and in the precinct, he was brutally beaten. And there's no other nice way to say it. You know, a nightstick went up his ass, and and the cop that was arrested, Volpe.
And 12 others, they don't remember. Schwartz, there was another 12 co-defendants.
Yeah, there was another 12 co-defendants. You were locked up with Volpe at one point?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Can you talk to me about that experience?
So it was funny. So after, of course, my turn came, right? I went through that representing the movement, but I was still a king. So I had two lives to fulfill, right? The movement life and to keep the brothers moving forward, organized. And it finally came back, right? Hey, we got you on this bullshit charge, a conspiracy to be a lookout to a drug sale. This is why I was the big, and we're offering you 40 years, but 13 you cop out. And I was like, damn, do I want to go to trial and do 40 for being a lookout? And yes, people, I was the leader of the Kings, and I got locked up for being a lookout to a drug sale. But in that, the Volpe case went on. So I've not only been with Volpe in jail, I marched against Volpe. I helped that movement that you see with Richie Perez and Sharpton. The Kings were a big part of the 33 mothers in New York City that sons got killed by cops. We brought the noise. We brought the good guy out because the good guy wasn't showing up when Giuliani showed up. So then it was, if the bad guy becomes the good guy, then who the hell is the good guy? So the pastor came out, right? They had to outdo King Tone because he's the bad guy and we're the church. How do we let him shine, right? So we got the army together. And when they did that to Volpe, I remember I went to the precinct and I said, if he ever comes out here, we will take his gun, we will hog tie him, and we will bring him back to you. And when I went through all that, then I got arrested, then he got arrested. First, they put us with the same judge. So I used to go to my case and all the cops going with him and we leave in the court. And you know, like in football, motherfucker, la, la, la. So they had to keep us apart. And then we got sentenced. Him to 33, he copped out, he committed. Him and Schwartz were on 9 South in MCC, New York. It's 12 and I think 11, and I was in 9, the cell. But we were locked in. So I used to scream at Volpe. And Ron Kuby, who was my lawyer, if you know him, he had a radio show with Schwartz, the Guardian Angel guy, Sweetwell. And so I used to scream at Volpe. Then I used to give messages to who could call to tell my lawyer, and he used to go on the radio and say, they gave a pillow to Volpe today. Why can't King Tone get a pillow? You know, and I used to put the shit out, all right? I used to put the shit out on him. And it was funny because one day, I'll never forget, he knocked on his door and he said, Tone. I said, what you want, pig? You know, keeping it 100. What you want, pig? You know I'm getting you. He goes, you know I don't care when, I respected him. He said, I don't care what you do to me when you do it. But my mom is hearing your show. And my mom breaks her heart because she thinks I ain't gonna make it here. He said, I ain't a punk, bro. We see each other. But just know that you hurt my family. And it made me think, right? And then one day it was funny, making sure I go to visit. My mother's there, my daughter's there, and she's holding this little angel thing. I say, who gave you that? And she points to this lady that's in the side, and it's Volpe's mother. And every time she see my daughter, she would give her an angel, another gift. And I went back, and God was saying, remember I said to myself, you know, I'm like fucked up. And God says, remember, with the measure they're going to judge, you want them to judge him? I'm going to judge you. So let's go now. How much do you want him to get? And then MCC's got walls made of metal, and they had holes, and it was really corrupt, and they move you all the time. And one day we ended up head to head in the cell. And one night, we got to talk. And he told me the real story, and I'll leave that for somewhere, and he said, that's the truth. And in my mind, I said, how many times you did the same shit to someone else? You didn't put a stick in his butt and did that foul act, but you would beat him with 3 and 4 dudes and lead him with a pumpkin head. And you lose your mind because you with the rage of the crowd and your brothers, and when you finish, you see what you left there. And you wake up and you go, wow, I regret that. What's different from him? God was working on my conscience, and what I told him was, you know what? Good luck tomorrow in your sentence. I hope we never cross paths in the jail, because I want you to know I want you to make it. But I want you to know there's people like me that'll never forgive you. So your mother did, and mine forgave me. So I hope we both get what our mothers are praying for. And I say, I'm no longer your judge and jury. You know, go about your business. There's no enemy in me. And he said, thank you. And I just wished him his flowers. And I said, you know, now get the fuck out. Go do your bid like I'm going to do mine, right? Make it through the bid. But that's how it was, man. And I say that story is you never know really, like what they said, your best friend in the bunker in the war. And if you're all wearing orange, he's never not going to be a cop. You get my point? Mm-hmm. But he's a human being. And he fell short heavy. And he did something that I can't understand. But there's mothers still talking about what they couldn't understand me, blood, and others did. You get my point?
100%.
So that's how I deal with life now. And that's one of my biggest lessons while I was going through that transforming, when God put me next to my greatest enemy. Mm-hmm. And he said, how much do you look like him? Act like him, talk like him? And I started dealing with myself, hurt and denial and foundations. So like I said, I think he's home by now.
He is home. I wanted to bring that up. How do you feel about that, him being home?
Well, I want blood home. You get my point? There's a time where you can't see if a man grew out of his mistake and change if you don't give him the chance to prove it. And if it ain't in free in a yard with other inmates, could he be compatible? Could he grow? So I'm glad his mother got her wish.
Okay.
You know, and if it was up to me, 33 years for your first crime and all that without a murder, it's a long bid. You get it? I would have kept you a little while more. You know, I would have hoped you, I hope you went through some turmoil that showed you that you don't never want to come back with us. You don't belong here. I didn't belong there, and I wasn't a cop. You get what I mean? So I hope he learned that lesson, man, that you don't make the mistake twice.
No, 100%. 100%. I wanted to circle back into the Latin King story. So you guys used to have a meetings you call universals.
Yes.
Over in Spanish Harlem, across the street from a precinct. Was that like kind of like a little message? Like I'm doing this meeting across the street from you guys, or is that just coincidence?
No, one, St. Mary's is the church across from it. Mm-hmm. And the pastor's name was Luis Barrios. Mm-hmm. Dr. Luis Barrios, who was running with the people I talked about, the Lolita, La Bronx, and them. And he was in the movement. And when I couldn't get nowhere for my kids to have the universals in the park, we get arrested. Him and Dave Brotherton from John Jay, another doctor brother, Dave Brotherton, wrote a lot of books of the transformation of the Latin Kings from a gang into a political group. He and Father Bodies approached me and said, we got a space, but we would like to do a study and follow you in the Kings. And I was with Kings, and I was like, who's this cracker, Fed? And this priest Bananas? What the fuck you doing here? You know, and he was like, Tone, I know people that would love to hear you. You got power. And a long story, I told him, let's do this. I'll go to your church and check it out, see if you really want me there. He didn't know I was going to bring 1,000, 1,500. Mm-hmm. And then I said, but just tell the truth, man. Tell our story through our voice. Write what we say and what we really do. Say, you got it. Now, I've been friends with them dudes for 30 years, but the point is his church was St. Mary's across the street from the precinct, where he thought I was going to say then no. So then I said, where else could I be safer to meet with my brothers and tell them you don't got to bring the toys with you? And they go, why? Because the police got them. They're across the street. And they not going to let nobody shoot at us. Why? It's their job to stop them. So I found it was the first place I could build what I call in my program safe space for power groups, where you find a space not to pull one out and save them, but how about if we try to save them all? And I brought them into a space where barrios, where I would invite voices of culture, of wisdom, of different places to teach us what's the world like outside of the Latin kings. What are the opportunities and the people we don't know of because we don't let them in? So after you let them hear these voices, right, you teach them who they are, then you let the outside influences in, and then you do an action with it. So our first action was to put the cops to earn their damn pay. When I meet with my 2,500 kings here, you put up the barricades, you check, and you get us in there safe, and you get us out safe. You work for me today. Okay. And we flaunted it. It was purposely, by mistake, destiny, but purposely where my kings learn to scream at a cop, talk with a cop, but then no, he's a cop and I'm a king. I feel better. I called him a pig a couple of but let me stop. I got to go to Universal because Tony will kick my ass if I get arrested. You get my point?
I got you.
So it was beautiful to see that, because then you really see who is the scary guy, the kings or the cops? They were on the roof, the rifles pointed, the copter. Every time I did, I used to do that every 30 days.
Once a month.
Once a month. Feed, party, give gifts to the kids that fathers were in jail, give positive message. And then we had a month outlook, right? What are we doing this month? Well, we got to meet with the mothers. We got to see Pritchie. So we had purpose. We had community. And we had actions to see that we could bring change. And that's what it was about, really. I knew everything was the eye for the community to see things were slogans, right? Were posters. And if you see cops pointing the guns at the kings, you as a citizen said, damn, they just in the church, they just praying. Why are y'all acting like that? See? And that gives the first question mark. So the kings might not be as bad as you think. Look at them. See how they show up. We show up in black and gold for sure, but we know they're cops. We ain't pointing guns back. There might be some hiding there. I'm not saying that. But look how scared they are of us. That's why it's hard to change. And that was the purpose of it, to give that big view to the community.
Okay. And you mentioned, Jose Barrios?
Yes.
Jose Barrios. He referred to you once as a prophet.
How do you know that? That got me a lot of heat.
Hey, man,
that was on prime time.
I got my research here. He called you a prophet. How did that make you feel?
It's like the ante went up. I was a leader. Then I was a revolutionist. Then I became a prophet. Wow. And the first thing I found out, and I teach this still, and kids say, why? I said, remember, when you change, a prophet isn't recognized in his own town. The place where Jesus most wasn't recognized is when he went home. They say, ain't you the son of Mary? Ain't you the son of Joseph? What the hell you mean you're God and Jesus? Bro, we know you. You were born here. Matter of fact, you don't got a father. You're a bastard. We don't even know who slept with your mother. You fake ass, right? Mm-hmm. So when I changed, it was the same behavior when I used to go home. Yo, Tone, you fronting. Come on, man. You know you still like to carry that. You know you still putting pain in the street. And I'll be like, damn. Strangers are supporting me, but my family still doesn't believe I changed. So when he gave me that title, I knew I had to be more responsible. And I had to recognize the power I was carrying. A prophet is just someone who brings the word of God and brings knowledge of what is to come if we don't change our behavior. I'm a biblical guy. I was born and raised in Christianity, Catholic, then to Pentecostal, then to Christianity. And I've always served God. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm still here. A gangster with God in his heart is different from an ignorant man that never knew something that changed him and showed him what love looked like. So yeah, that when he gave me prophet, it made more enemies. The church said I was the Antichrist. Right? If you're a prophet to one, you're going to be the Antichrist. How dare you call him a prophet? And he took the heat, and I'm glad he said it, because I'm still prophesizing today. Mm-hmm. I'm still bringing that word that we are not our greatest mistake. And what love looked like is when the community supports and gives the young adult love when he feels there's no love to look for. Mm-hmm. And that's why, yeah, I say I still prophesize.
More importantly, do you believe you're a prophet?
Well, there's a different kind of prophecy. I'm not the prophet Elijah or one of the Old Testament prophets.
Okay.
I'm a prophet from the fucking East New York ghetto.
Okay. All right.
And I think there's many being born that are screaming the word of God and prophesizing and telling the church to wake up, telling community to wake up. Then who are we if we're not that? If when we're sleeping and God tells, yo, Tone, you better grow up right. And tomorrow, I want you in Sweden, stupid. Sweden, how I get there? You're going. I went to Sweden. You're going to Spain. You're going to talk to the gangs in Spain and convert them. You're going to go to Ecuador. You're going to help the Ecuador dudes not to become the Latin Kings of New York or Chicago, but the Latin Kings of Ecuador with a different outlook that become a revolutionary group and the most biggest voting bloc in their country. Get my point? Mm-hmm. Could you believe that? Could you do that? Yes, Lord. I'm going.
It's funny you mentioned Ecuador. I wanted to get to that. So you were working with the Ecuadorian president, Correa?
Yes, sir.
To help the Latin Kings become a more positive group. Can you break down what you was doing in Ecuador?
Well, again, me, Luis Barrios, and Dave Brotherton, you see, it's not only when you call a prophet, then you got teachers that go with you, disciples and people that start giving you the validation and the strength, because one man can't lead a movement. So yeah, I was called in prison. I was in the SHU, and I was told that the kings in Ecuador and the Nietas were fighting, and there was the first 3 murders in Ecuador by gang violence, through gangs. I got the letter and I read it, and they said, if you write a letter saying they're friends and they could squash it, this was from Luis Barrios, they'll stop the war. I said, that's all I gotta do? I prophesize. You're cousins, and you're supposed to operate together. And I want this and this, and when I come home, like remember Paul? I will go see you. The war ended the day the letter hit. And it wasn't just the Latin Kings, it was 7 gangs, major gangs that I won't name, so in Ecuador. And what the president did said, you and Barrios, we're gonna give you money, we're gonna open opportunity with the church, community, and the government, and we're gonna open those and support you, and we're gonna give the whole gang a safe space like you did in New York, and each of them to start telling us what they need, and we start telling them what we want. In universals for each of them. So then we started practicing. So in 3 years, Ecuador went to one of the safest countries in the world. Out of the 7 groups, 3 of them kept all the way till the president came to the Universal and gave them
the president of the United States of Ecuador went to a Universal?
I got a picture after we finish him throwing the crown, so you could throwing the crown and giving us our corporation papers to make it a legal identity. Wow. In Ecuador, in Spain, in Sweden, in Riga, Russia. So what I'm saying, so right when I got it with Carrera, while we seen a socialist country with no money, what could happen if you get support? Mm-hmm. You don't change one. He changed 3 gangs and 4 quit. You know what they said? It ain't cool being gang anymore. Right? Y'all not into the life. Y'all like square now. Y'all going to church. Y'all doing these positive things. You get it? Yeah, Kids lost the luster that we wasn't duplicating cartels and other people. So yes, and Carrera came. He kept his promise. We kept ours. And I want to see how quick. Carrera's no longer in power. The new president, seeing that the power groups became his greatest foe because they believed in Carrera's movement, he then sided with the cartels. After he took power the next year, there was 33 murders of inmates in their facilities every 3 days.
33 murders every 3 days?
You got them look it up on YouTube. They beheaded dudes. They had councils it was turned into what we call a Salvador. And it happened in a year. So what I'm trying to teach, 10 years of hard work erased by a politician in one day.
Wow.
So now Ecuador isn't what it used to be. Because why? They lost the support of who? Their government, their community, and they now no longer trust the guy who made a deal with the bad guy so he could win. So that shows you that it could be done. Imagine America and the Justice Department supporting and giving people like me to bring all the bloods to a space and say, hey, we're going to bring politicians, we're going to bring this, we're going to bring teachers, we're going to give you opportunity. But let's start telling them what we really want and let them in so we could tell them, you want us to vote, you want us to raise, you want us to help us. And I think that was one of the greatest achievements when I came home, because I believed that it was over. You know what I mean? I got the prison thing, shit. Like King Tone fell asleep, it was like, don't mention that guy to myself. Just not you no more. For change, you can't be him. You just could be Antonio Fernandez. And God was like, what do you mean? The idol you created and you crucified, now it's going to be what attracts them to you to bring them to salvation and behaviors and change. It isn't if you're King Tone, it's how do you act when you're King Tone and what do you put off. So with that, I've learned to use that idol to still bring them in, but I got Antonio Fernandez, King Tone, that's healed, to show them how to make it through that dark road that I went through because I got the experience and the know-how how to do it.
Okay. You mentioned El Salvador. So El Salvador went from being the most dangerous country in the world to now being the safest country in the Western Hemisphere. But the route to that was Bukele. He arrested 1% of the population. And these like mega prisons where it's somewhat similar to ADX. Now, we're seeing I wanted to get your opinion because you're someone that's sensitive to that jail culture and how they treat the prisoners, but it also had results in the country in positive ways. Can you tell me about El Salvador and how you feel about that?
Well, it's a quagmire, right?
Yeah.
The fear in those mega prisons are real. I went to Ecuador prisons. I've been in prisons that ain't American. Different animal. Scary. It's so hard because he's doing well now, right? But it's against the law to try to help a gang member in El Salvador. And even the president can't go like and make, hey, you guys want this, you want that for change. Now you're a gang member, you got a tattoo, we think you're going to birth that, you're going into that prison and you're not coming home. If Hitler started taking 1% of his community and doing something with it. So they hear in some of these programs, they say, well, out of a gang, there's only the 1%ers that are really doing the shooting. So if you just go after the 1%, right? But when do you stop when the 1% that start talking against your behavior, start talking against the policies you think is going to keep the country pace? Do they end up with the gangsters? You get my point? So what I'm saying, I think, is an extreme, but I think there is a place where sometimes you got to take some people that can't function within society and give it the peace and understanding it needs, right? But no, I think is a bit excessive. I think that the honeymoon will be over one day.
Okay.
Because how much could you beat me and scare me before I find the courage to fight again, right? Because it isn't a conversion of you change, you come out of this big prison. It's not I put you there and you're never coming out. So how long could you lock up that for, long? So with that, I'm saying I'm saddened that it had to come to that. And the American policy and culture of showing him how to do that won over the Ecuador showing of how you could do that. One happens immediately and quickly, but it looks like that. One takes 4 to 5 years, and it looked like Ecuador. I'd rather take the Ecuador route.
Okay.
It's proven to work. I made it safe without mega prisons. He's making it faster, but with mega prisons. But how many mega prisons we're going to have in El Salvador?
I got you. What are your thoughts of now the Venezuelan migrants coming? Especially here where we're at, you know, in Manhattan, there's a lot. They're coming to the country at a rapid rate.
Yeah, they're the number one now immigrant that's coming across the border in America. By numbers, it's proven.
Yeah, well, what's your opinion on that situation?
It's crazy. I'm working with United Way and the ones building that's part of the city's programs to build safe spaces and to help youth without law involvement. Mm-hmm. So it's 10 o'clock at night about a month and a half ago. Okay. I'm in the bed and the phone rings. I won't say the government official from the city hall. We got a problem with kids from Venezuela. They beat up a cop. They run in the 42nd. So they told me everything you tell. They're popping. We need help. What do you say, Tone? I heard them for a while. My wife is looking at me. Shout out to Diane. Love you. So she's like, and then the commissioner of the program is there. You know, all the big dogs are on the line, and I didn't know. I said, Tone, we thought you could help us do this. See? I said, what do you think? How do we do it? I said, give me a half hour. And I had the number one Venezuelan professor that's in Chicago working with the kids there in the immigration who went through the same procedure of that government chasing out those that don't agree. She's over there. I called her. She said, hell yeah, I'm ready to come. We do a study. I know how we could work with them. I know how we could help them. Then I said, look, I got a 5-man team. We're ready here. They'll be here. You give me the money. We'll fly in. I know how to help them. What is going on with them? They came from a war-torn country where they fought the police because the police wasn't like the United States. The Justice Department separates itself. They were doing the deeds of a man, like a gang leader. Mm-hmm. So when they come here in America, they all of a sudden realize what kind of government is this and how it operates here? So when they did a group and they seen a cop and he approached them, they said, in our country, we beat the shit out of cops. They're our enemies. Nobody taught them how to be a proper youth in America. And you say, but that's, you know, you don't beat up cops. Do you if you came from over there? Mm-hmm. You get my point?
I get your point.
So what we're planning, that's part of why I'm getting money this year, to go into the welfare hotel where they got 3,000 of these immigrants, and those youth are assigned to Grow Up, Grow Out Junior, where I'm building a team that's going to go in there and help them to understand this capitalistic country, what is justice, who are the police, and most of all, how you're hurting yourself and those that are coming behind you for a president like Trump to make you the next villain, like he did to El Salvador, like he does to Mexico. Do you want to be the face of that? So now we're going to teach them who they are, why they're here, and how do they make it through the safe passage to becoming an American citizen. With understanding, with love, with groups in the home, with my guys showing them, with outings so we could practice and they could realize, you know, every immigrant that came to this country, the Irish, the Italian, all made gangs before they became the justice and judges and the police department and the firemen. They were the 3 gangs of New York first. Yeah. No immigrant comes here knowing what to do. They don't got an ID, right? They don't got the paperwork they need. Who got the quickest resolution? The drug dealer that could say, yo, you make $100 today. You don't got to wait 6 months till you get your papers and an ID to go flip burgers, which is cool, but there's a time gap. We want to show them, be patient, stand still. We'll show you how to make it through those 7 months, and you'll win if you follow this path. So that's how I feel. We need to back the F off of them. Before we criticize them and treat them as animals, let's teach them how to become and not to be war-stricken, where they got to carry that trauma and act it out here because they're safe here. But still, there's 3,000 people in a 1,500 room space hotel.
Okay.
So you get what we're doing?
We're cramming all.
You might as well call that penitentiary this, right? There's no real, how could you really make it there? How do you understand when it's chaos? There's always, so we want to go there and give a safe space to our Valenzuelan kids and give them a roadmap how to do this the right way.
Okay.
And that's how I feel. So the mayor and his team better get their ass ready, get the money on the table, because before this president gets them all on a bus and sends them right back where they end up dead, let's show some humanity and some love and respect to try a different way.
I'm interested in seeing what happens with this situation the next 5 to 10 to 15 years. I'm very interested and curious how it turns out.
Well, if they don't get us the help they need in the next 6 months, you'll know what it looks like in a year. Now, positively, you'll see those young kids demonized, criminalized, and they'll become a gang. They surely will choose the gang route.
All right, well, let's hope not. Let's hope not. I wanted to transition into another Latin king. Do you know King J? He moved to, I believe, South Carolina.
Yeah, I think he went political.
Yeah, he started.
And he caught a case.
And he caught a case, and now...
Good friend of mine.
Yeah. Could you tell me about him?
Yeah, he was a kid that seen the movement in New York, knew about us, went out there and he tried the similar, and he's like a baby King Tone, right? Mm-hmm. He was doing right, but he was still a king. And out there, he made great strides, and he had a great support system with the pastors and all that.
Yeah,
I'm not from there. And surely when the bad guy became the good guy, he went through what I went through. The government became his greatest foe, his greatest opponent, to say, no, he's still a bad guy.
I got you.
And in that battle that I don't know, they gave him a heavy sentence.
Yeah, I believe it was 19 years.
19 years. I get letters in Texas from him of, hey, get me a letter, and I apologize. I haven't been the best, right? Because I got time to write and people doing. But he's working hard to come home.
Okay.
And he was another individual like Tone. Is he a good guy? Well, shit, if you only push me to stay like a bad guy and you don't implement me before I make my biggest mistake, why I want to change, what happens if you feed the change, not my past? And I think he met that crossroad. And again, the system couldn't accept a converted gangster to be a revolutionary. So I think good man with a hard road, because I don't know his case, and I don't say guilty, innocent. That's not what I'm here. But I know that's a good man. Read him, and he wants to come home, and he wants to do the work, and he's on fire for God. So I want to say, yo, bless you, Jay, and you know that we're all waiting for you, and I hope I become a better steward and help you more.
Oh man, that's awesome here. That's awesome here. Getting back to you though, so you eventually. So I kind of want to get back into you were the leader. That's kind of where we left off, and then we hit all over the place. But I want to get back in order. So after the case with Luis Felipe, you end up becoming the leader. You end up spreading this positive movement throughout the media and bringing them to church and doing all this, and then you get caught up with, like as you said, selling drugs, being a lookout for a drug deal. What happened? You telling people on one end, hey man, don't do this, and then on another end, you're doing it. Well, can you talk to me about that?
Well, yes, and we see that in a lot of crime shows, like when the kid get caught and they say, stealing is bad, and he goes, yeah, but.
Yeah.
I know it's bad, but do you know what's hunger? Where you ain't got $1, but you want to eat. Is it stealing? You get it? An apple, a loaf of bread. So what I'm trying to say, I had all the intentions and understanding that we were moving to change. And I wanted to bring it. I always had a 9-to-5 while I was the leader of the Latin Kings.
Did you worked for MTV?
Yes, I worked for MTV when it first launched.
What happened with that job?
Well, I was there, and then, I started loading the MTV with what I knew to give them, All of them loved that white powder, so I thought, I could make it 2 ways in there.
And he was getting 2 paychecks.
2 paychecks.
One off the books, one off the books.
And it didn't end well. It made me end up in Studio 54. You know what I mean?
I got you.
So, but do you see the lifestyle of us raised in that environment? Hey, you could be a good guy, but, in New York, we do what we got to do to make it, right?
I got you.
So, but as King Tone, I really meant what I said. But was I equipped to stick to what I was saying to make it out through the victory to come in the long run. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying, I had a job and everything. Then it came out, he's King Tone, the leader. So the guy I worked for in Bryant Company came the next day. He showed me the New Yorker. He said, I love you, Tone. Here's $1,000. Don't ever come to my office again. The people that I lived in my apartment, they said, hey, I thought you were just, but now we know who you are and everybody knows you. Could you please get out of here? We don't want you to live here. All the doors started closing on me. I couldn't support myself. So now I have to live off the kings, right? Like they say, now I'm out and I'm preaching this good thing, but I'm backed up 9 months in rent. Now I'm not coloring it. I was pinching. Giuliani said, you could give a gangster sewing machine, you could give him jobs, you could give him church, but a gangster don't change. And it came to the point where I said, how do I eat? And where I failed was to realize that I was beyond rich. Because if I would have went to the mothers, to Richie Perez and all the thousands that were doing the against police brutality movement, no justice, no peace, and if I would have asked for $1 from each, I would have paid all my bills. Pride comes before a man's destruction. So in my shame, I thought to do something really once, make that quick buck, and I pay everything, and then I go back to the good guy. That one cost me dearly. I destroyed a movement. I destroyed the belief in people that a King Tone can be a lighthouse of change. And that's one of my greatest failures of myself, failing my community. Because after I got arrested and I was in there for 3 days, my lawyer comes, he says, they want $1 million bail, we got it. And I was like, got it? I ain't got no money like that. Don't tell nobody, but we broke, Kings. Well, you got it. I don't want a new case. So right he goes. Richie Perez in the community has raised $350,000. We raised another $100,000. Al Sharpton put up his house. Now what's left is about, he told me the number, and I said, shit, that's easy. Call this person, I'm not going to say, and they were really close to me, family. And they said, no, we can't help you. And it was under 500.
Wow. And
I'm not criticizing, they're standing on their ground, right? That's your well, you pay for it. Mm-hmm. But I seen strangers, like I say, see, what I didn't know, right? If I asked for $1, now I needed $1 million. And they fucking gave me $1 million. I was the first Latin king to walk out on a major conspiracy, right, case and get bail. The judge put them all there. The 13 people who bailed me out, shopped them. Do you know if... And she started scaring them, saying, give me my money back. Yo, take my lady out of there. And Kubi was like... And they all said, yes, Your Honor, we know who we bailing out. And we stand with him. Do you know how I felt when I walked out with my lawyer and the community bailed me out?
I could only imagine.
Like that song, I was like ashamed. As I walked by them, I couldn't, you know what I mean? I couldn't look them in the eye. I was so remorseful that I had to tell them soon that it was true, that I failed, right? And that I was gonna have to pay for my sin. So it was sad. But what I want to say, when your kid asks you and says, I want to change, but I need this, and sometimes I'm going to go and I hit the pipe today, or I did the meth today. But Mom, I really trying to change. Don't go and say, but you fucking never change and I don't believe it. Say, today we start all over. What do you need to make that change real? How do we support that good vibe you got? Instead of criticize, tear down, and bring down. None of them made me do that bad decision. I did. But the King Tone of yesterday ain't the today. That's what I learned. When your worst moment and you feel you got nobody, you call somebody. And you say, I need help. And I now got a beautiful wife, Diane. I got friends and organizations that are always watching for me, right? They're like, Tone, you all right? You good? And not because they distrust, but they say, you carrying a big cross. Don't do it alone this time, because it get lonely up here. You know it more than anybody. You good? Yeah, man. Thank you. Look, I just need, you get what I'm saying?
I got you.
So, yeah, for all our young adults, you may fall, and when it's your fault, accept it, take it, wear it. Don't make excuses for it, and grow from it. None of my victories taught me more than my failures. My failures taught me what not to do again. And when I used to repeat the same behaviors, I knew I was hurt beyond understanding change. But I'm a grown man now. I'm 65 years old. Mm-hmm. My wife's going to say you're 67, but let's keep it, right? 56.
Let's keep it round.
I'm 56 years old. I like to tell people I'm old because they look but serious. I'm sick. I already went 57 years in my life, and I don't got an excuse why to fail anymore. There's no one in the world that owns that for me. And there's nothing they could bring up that I was a crackhead and I used to stand, if I meet that dude, I laugh with him. I don't get offended. Oh, no. Hey, that was me one day. But look at me today, right? I always say that, look at me today. And really, is that willing to trade that for one moment, right? Do I want to make a moment to a lifetime, or I want to turn a lifetime of moments to a story, right? A victory. Yeah. So with that, yeah, it was a sad moment for me and the movement. So when I got sentenced to lock it down, I told the judge I was living 2 lives. Now I know I got to be one. And I want to apologize to what I told Blood to do, I also did. I turned around and I apologized to the mothers, to Richie Perez, and I told them I'm sorry for my failure, but I got to go now and deal with what I got to deal with. And I went to do my 13 and a half years for conspiracy to look out in the feds with 3 years in the shoe, and I came back happy as fuck.
How did you spend your time in prison? 13 years is a lot. Did you read a lot, work out,
read,
basketball?
work?
What was your...
Nah, I didn't play games, because I had a plan. I already tasted movement.
Yeah.
So what I was building was, how do I build a program? How do I write what I need so when I go to funders and I present my idea, it's well put together? So dudes would teach me, do you know what is a contract? Do you know how to get it? Do you know how to open an LCC and a nonprofit? So I was gaining all the knowledge when I had nothing to do. When I had everything to do, I didn't start overwhelmed. I had 3 years of the game written in stone. I had my 10 commandments. I had everything set. Now it's up to me. I didn't have to go to school to learn it. I didn't have to do this and start from the bottom. They prepared me. You leaving ready. All you need is to do is ask and get it.
Okay.
And that's what I did. I prepared myself for grow up, grow out, to be successful, not when I got home, but when I started my bid. I taught King Tone, hey, now you got to get it right. Who is the real Tone, right? Who are you? And that's what I did, right? I perfected myself to the point I understood my greatest weaknesses and my greatest strength and how to get that in a balance.
Okay. On Vlad TV, I heard you describe your last day in prison, or you leaving prison, the saddest day of your life.
Yeah.
Can you describe how you felt, and why was that the saddest day of your life?
Well, I had 13 and a half years. And if you go to a federal penitentiary, there's like 75% got life sentences with no violent act in their crime. The crack law, draconian laws that are written for poor people. Like now, weed is legal. I want you to know there's still people in the federal penitentiary doing time for weed. As you cop it and you smoke it with the white guy that sell it to you, there's still dudes in there. They didn't let everybody free now because it's legal. You get my point?
Yeah.
So when I was thinking about, I had a dude there that was there 43 years. When I walked in, I was like, how do you do 43 years, right? Shit, I just got here. Don't tell me that. Get away from me. So what I did, instead of fearing the people, the 1,500 men that were with me, I was the kind of dude that they loved to sit to because I was with King Tone, and I started hearing stories and lives. And it was affecting me, right? And then I said, you belong home. Why are you still here? Well, the board is natural life, Tone. I've been here 15 years helping people like you make sure you get home, educating you. I work in the law library. I'm the maintenance man. I make sure the cells are good, that y'all don't have, I keep dudes from raping people. Get it? Mm-hmm. And you see in the 1,500, maybe maybe 250, I would say, never come home. That motherfucker's scary. Don't let him out. But the majority of them were, bro, you could go home and be somebody more than this.
Yeah.
And when you're walking out and you see the men that loved you, when they lifers, and like to get a rep, I'm a little chubby guy, boy. Right there, when they used to see me, they say, yo, King Tone come to jail. We're going to see him. And when I used to come out, you see the disappointing in them, like, you King Tone? And I'm like, yeah. They said, but in TV, you look bigger. You sure you King Tone? Yeah, man. They go, nah, you can't be jail. You're too fat. I'm like, come on, man. Give me my love, right? So the point is, right, my image grew bigger than me.
Yeah.
But it gave me access to people that I would fear would have kept us apart. And I found out when I was leaving that there were some things that maybe I should have never left. But God gave me the opportunity to leave. And there's some guys in there that deserved it as much as I did. And they're never coming home. And the police came to try to take away my date to go home with false accusations because they knew my home date. They put me in the shoe, and the compound told the captain them, bring him out and take him home. Because if you don't, we're going to burn this joint. Because you know what? It's bullshit. And she went and did her work, called the DA, and it's called a threat assessment. And she came back, she said, the paperwork, this is bullshit. They just trying to keep you here, bro. She said, I'm going to sign your release papers.
Wow.
And the sergeant named Butts, I say his name, he was like, don't worry, Tone, you going home. So when you see all that, and then when you leave and you see them on the gate, because they know you're going to go out the front, and you see the yard there, right, a good amount, screaming, yo, nigga, you go, we love you. And you go and like, damn, this is my family. And I can't bring them with me. I'm not going to see some of them ever again. And God, why can't they come home with me? And it broke my heart, right? It was like when Jesus looked at Jerusalem, he said, oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem. And he cried, right? Because he said, these are my people, and they don't know. These know. They felt it. They're ready to go prophesize and do things, but they're not allowed. And I cried for them because it broke my heart that I couldn't put them in my bag and bring at least 700 of them with me, right? And then open it and say, here's my gift, freedom. And do well with it, because freedom isn't overrated. And that's how I lived my life. So that's why I cried for them, is because I seen good men being left behind.
And you felt guilty leaving?
Of course, because I knew me, right? I knew what I've done and what I've didn't, and I know me. And I know in some of them, maybe they would have never let me come home, right? So I said, some of these dudes never did things I did, and they never coming home. So how do you forgive yourself for that? Get it? Being the sole survivor. So with that, that's why. And let me give a shout out to all the brothers in any prison across the world. You are loved. There is hope. And one day the Lord or whoever your higher power is will bring you home. You don't got to come home in the flesh or in your body, but your mind could be free. And when your mind is free, there's no fences or wall that keep you prisoner. All
right. Well, now that you're out, you're doing positive stuff. You're doing. You got your program, Grow Up, Grow Out. Can you get a little bit elaborate as to what you're doing in Grow Up, Grow Out?
Yes, so Grow Up, Grow Out Junior is a nonprofit. I started it in 2015. I came home 2009. I did what I said. I got my licenses and all that. In 2015, it was born. And I got a partner named Clinton Lacey, and it's called the Credible Messenger Movement. And what it is returning citizen and people in the community that we call credible messengers. Those are people who take their past history and make it into a positive, and now want to share with a young adult or another man how they got out of addiction, how to give them a navigation through that hard time when other people want to leave them behind, how we become their big brother, and the hope they don't see in their eyes, we see it for them. And when they see it, they start believing it in themselves. And how do we do that? We take men, we put them through a 5-day boot camp where we empower them with conflict resolution, mental health. We give them these tools and these certificates, almost like going to college. But they are quick. They're the emergency room. They get these certificates so they could be the counselor that comes with all these, okay, this might be a mental health. This might be oppression. This might be homelessness. And as we find what's the real thing that's driving him to fail, we start relieving them. We call them the main three: hunger, homelessness, right? Income. And what we do, we take the returning citizen who started changing jail like me. We teach them there's a place to make $65,000 to $75,000 a year. You get your tool belt. You become Batman. You get out there. You go back to the gang that you once served, and you become the lighthouse for them. And you say, yo, blood, I'm here. I'm still a blood, but I don't do what you do. I don't do stinking thinking. And this is how I made it out the pen out of 23 years. I'm your OG. I used to be your boss. So there's nothing you could tell me. How about you listen to me for a little while? Let's go to the office with Tone.
Okay.
We'll start the process there. If you're a youth-involved kid, we start representing you in court. We start helping you. If you're an addiction, we get you someplace to start your change and your cure. So Grow Up, Grow Out are navigators through Credible Messenger and giving a place. Remember when I couldn't have a job because we created something that wasn't there called Credible Messenger. Now when you come from jail, the feds are there. You go, yo, we got 17 states practicing it. We got Credible Messages and Grow Up, Grow Out in 7 prisons. We got Alabama. We got Louisiana. We got Riverside, California. I'm across the country doing this. Grow Up, Grow Out is a movement. We don't call it a program. So what I do, I reinvest in those who did the greatest damage. We believe those are the greatest healers. Part 2, we teach the system how to learn the language of grassroots leadership and not shoo them and give the money to the blue-eyed, blonde-haired people that come and say they're going to work with us, but they police us for the probation officer. They piss us, do this, do that, but really don't navigate how to do this and give us what we need to get it accomplished. We show them, why don't you give the money to the mom and pop church and guys that are doing the work but don't know how to build an LCC and get an ADP and run it, and let me teach them.
Man, that's amazing.
So we not only get them to do the work, we get them to own it. So now you got Credible Messenger, let's say Strong Arms in Alabama with a white supremacist gang leader is with a black gang leader of let's say the Crips, and they make a LCC together, nonprofit, and they go in and they don't talk about don't fight each other. They show that they own a movement together called Strong Arms that shows them in jail how they could put that prejudice aside. So we're the true look of change, and we support them when, like when nobody want to go where they're at. They want them to come where they're at. Oh, you could get saved if you come to my church. Well, why don't you put your speaker back in Sunset Park and go there first and start telling them about Jesus there, get it? So that's what the movement is, and Grow Up, Grow Out is an empowerment movement of returning citizen, and you don't got to go to jail to be a Credible Messenger. You could be a judge that stands up when other judge says, yo, I ain't going to put you in jail, Junior. Write a paragraph, write me a paper, and I'm going to send you to Tone. And do 9 months with Tone, and you won't go here. And we got judges doing that now. We got restorative circles where we got cousins who are fighting with other cousins or gangs that are fighting. We bring them to a place where they could talk without all the pressure and say the true fear they have of each other and their families after a tragedy, that we bring them to talk so they won't carry the tragedy of a victim and the perpetrator. And that they forgive them too and leave it there while they still grow in their block without hatred. That's who Grow Up, Grow Out, and that's what I'm building, is that kind of movement program that comes and give the power back to the community, because the Justice Department can't fix nothing. It needs us.
How can, like, somebody watching this right now, right? How can they help? If they heard this and they go, man, I want to help Grow Up, Grow Out, I'm willing to put my $1 or donate their time. How can somebody help? What's the website?
Yeah, you could go to Grow Up, Grow Out Junior website. Is you go in.com, you'll see it. Or I'm here. We got our email. You could go Fernandez at growupgrowout.org. You send that. You get your email will be answered. We will contact you, and we will build, and we'll show you our one pager, our kit. or like I said on the website, you'll see about us, you'll read about us, is under construction right now because the last guy I didn't like the colors. I got new colors coming on. But sincerely, reach out because it ain't like you're going to talk to Tone. You're going to talk to a bunch of incredible messengers in your state, in your place, wherever you at, and could help you pick it up. So you don't got to be from New York. If you're somewhere in the South, we're in Houston, you get it? Call me. I could team you up with someone. So it ain't me alone. We got big brothers. That's why it's a movement in every state looking to find you.
Well, hey, listen, anything I can do to help, just know Broadway Joel is here for that movement. I definitely am. I'm all about positivity and stuff like that. So I definitely, anything you need from me, just know I'm a phone call away. I'll pick up.
He in trouble now. You know he gonna get called. Your first mission.
Hey, listen, if it's something I can do, I'll do it. I'm glad this was recorded because especially something positive like this. This is something regarding helping kids who didn't grow up with everything. And I'm a kid who didn't grow up with everything. Thank God I never joined a gang. I never sold drugs. Thank God. But I easily could have. And I understand when I see somebody who's young, 19, 18, 16, doing something, even though I didn't do it, I see myself in him because I know with certain influences, I easily could have been there. Easily. You don't know how many times split-second things have saved me from either getting involved in something or like, I'll give you an example, right? So this is in East New York. I'm in my cousin's house, and this is around my birthday. So I got some money. I got like $5. That's a lot to me.
It would have been a lot to me, too.
I had $5 in my pocket. I felt rich. I remember I wore my best clothes. There was a brand called Echo at the time.
Oh, I remember Echo.
I had Echo.
White Rhino.
I had my little Jordans on. I was feeling good about myself. And I was like, yo, you know what? I'm going to go to McDonald's. And for whatever reason, I felt lazy. This was right after school. I was on the couch. I was like, come on, go get McDonald's. I was like, something was telling me just don't get McDonald's. And I was like, okay. As soon as I said okay, I hear two pops. Pop, pop. I'm like, what is that? I look outside. It's my friend's father who got shot. He had a big gold chain. He got shot, and he just ran out. He's holding his stomach, bleeding. And long story short, he ended up passing away, unfortunately. But split-second things like that, where I could have been involved in something. I could have been a victim there. Who knows? I could have maybe attacked this guy and wrestled. I don't know where I could have been involved. But point is, I could have been in a situation I wasn't supposed to be in.
That's right. I
could have seen something, and then that changed the course of my life, where the kid who's doing whatever he's doing, that's what he's doing. So that's
I think every citizen that never been to jail got that story, right? Mm-hmm. That one thing that could have changed their life.
Yeah.
And like I said, I ended with this. When you look at a child, if you look to blame him for where he's at, that's another adult figure that fails him. Because he's not the oppression he's facing and the insecurity he's going through. All it takes is a real loving adult or someone with a little more experience to go there and tell him, you know you're loved and that you don't have to, you know that you're not alone. And that's what credible messengers are trying to do, right? In that moment, give them that hope that they're not alone. So, of course, you'll be called. I want to appreciate you. It's been really classy and well done. So I want to give you a shout out and know that if you ever need me, you know how to reach me now, too.
Well, thank you. There's actually 2-3 things, quick things I want to touch up on,
sure.
and then we'll finish off with the interview. So first, I want to touch on Hector Camacho. You ever had any interaction with Macho?
Yeah, I see him in Studio 54 a couple of times. I used to hold the rope, and he was a VIP. That's a different guy, man. Like what he looked in the ring, he was in Manhattan. He was an icon.
Okay.
He was an icon before Tone, of course.
Sure.
And he could fight. That was different with his hat. And when he went in the club, like you already know, he stole the show. He was who he was. But even in Manhattan, in his neighborhood. So, yeah, I've crossed paths with him, but he's one of my heroes. He's someone that I loved.
Great fighter.
great fighter and a great performer.
Ah, yes.
And he used to let you know Puerto Rico's here. Right? And he
100%.
was 100%. So shout out and rest in peace to Camacho. So yes, I knew of him. So I never got to talk to him, but I seen him around, and I remember what I said. One day I could be like this dude. And who knew, right? I made my own kind of Camacho, right?
Yeah.
And so, he was a great person to come across in life.
All right. What about Fat Joe and Big Pun? You ever come again?
Yeah, I sat with them for dinner, Fat Joe and Big Pun. Big Pun is funny, too. I don't know him like friends, but we had a little, Fat Joe and his brother, Money Man, had a little disagreement with some guys that were kings, and it came public. And I was trying to tell him going about it that way on the radio isn't. And Hector Torres, rest in peace, who was like my santo, who would get me to meet these people, to not incite, but diffuse, because I was already practicing that. I sat with them in Jimmy's Cafe.
Yeah.
And we sat there, and Pun was he was a monster of a man. Joe was a monster of a man. But even Pun was different. And I remember Pun say, "Yo, eat, bro. Don't worry. This shit is stupid." Right? And he said it with such a big smile. I thought it was going to be, right? Joe's a little more, reserved. Yeah, like, don't say the wrong thing. Tone, you Tone. But I'm Fat Joe. But he was also classy. They heard what I had to say. And then with that, what came out, Pun was like, "Yo, I'm coming out. And I'm coming out big. You think the Kings put up my shit? Hit the city with his posters." And I said, hell yeah. And the next year in the Puerto Rican parade, we marched right behind their float.
That's awesome.
So it's like you don't build friendships, but it's destiny takes you to where you got to be. And when you're looking for greatness, you meet great men, great women, and you're put in certain situations so you can make a difference.
Well, no, that's amazing. And this is the last question I have, and then we'll end off the interview. You spoke on I believe it was Queen's Flip podcast, and there's a line you said. You said the fake is becoming too real. I wanted you to elaborate on that, because I think there's power in that sentence.
So remember when you were told you don't talk? Remember when crime was committed never to be found out?
Yeah.
Remember that your greatest fear was kept in a closet? So now kids are gangsters that put the shooting on the gram. The guy who kills a rap about it on his song. Real got real fake, right? So my point is the trauma is so great that they don't do it not to get caught. They do it to be seen and heard, even though the end result is death or incarceration forever. I remember if you wore fake jewelry, you were laughed off the block. Or you had a fake polo, you remember, wow, that shit is pleather. Pleather's sold everywhere now, and it's in style. Kids is out there, they're making millions of dollars off fake jewelry. And if you could afford it's pretty, but what I'm saying, that wasn't allowed in my era. If you couldn't afford what's real, you don't wear it. If you can't do the time, you didn't do the crime. And most of all, if you wasn't a gangster, you didn't force yourself to become one. You avoided it. And I think our youth today glamorize the things that us OGs want to scream from our top of our head. You're buying the fried ice cream. King Tone wasn't created because he was tough, strong. It was because somebody made him so scared that he stopped being Antonio Fernandez, and he created a bigger monster than the monster that he met. So it wasn't toughness, I'm going to go out there and show the world. It was when that dude stepped to me and put a gun on my head and told me to take off the only jacket I had on my block. And I said, fuck that. Nobody ever going to rob me again. Not going to put a gun on my head. So you know what? I got something for him. I'm going to create someone that's tougher than that. So what I'm saying, 99% of you kids are feared, scared, and don't know what you're facing. Please, the gram, Facebook, that's police watching you. They no longer have to create a case. You give it to them. And I'm not saying it hey, you stupid enough to do it, do the time. But fake has become real. And even the fakeness of what is richness, what is strength, what is power. I think too many parents and community members is not installing those old traditions. Do you know what's a real man? Do you know that fear is for a moment, but love is a lifetime of healing, right? And I think that's why I said the fake is becoming too real. So now you rather follow a fake dude than a real dude like yourself, right? They say, yo, dude, I'll take you to the gym to box, and you could get all that anger out. But guess what? The guy across from you could fight too. So if you want to be a fighter, you fight a fighter. You don't go fight an old lady with a bag and take it and punch her in the face. You no fighter, you a coward, and you will die 1,000 times before your death. But a real man and king, taste it once. Why? He lives with the honor code. He lives with, I don't go steal from cab drivers. You get it? I don't harm the community. A grandmother that sees me kill somebody isn't a snitch. She's a community member.
Of course.
You see my point? You fake. That's all fake. That's all that fake knows to make excuses why you a coward. And you don't want to face life on its terms. Face it. Get good at it. And live it. Anybody could die, man, but it takes a strong man to live. So with that, that's what I meant by fake. Fake became too real, man, and I don't want nothing to do with it. You know what I mean?
For sure.
I don't mind you wearing fake gold. I don't mind you going to take it on the gram. But don't expect me to join you. Don't expect me to hit like, because I'm going to call you right on your page. You a stupid ass, and you look stupid, you sound stupid, and you don't scare me. Not because I'm tough, because I want to know how foolish you really look. You're a bozo. Remember Bozo the Clown? You're a bozo, bro. We used to punch Bozo and he bounced back up. You're a bozo. You ain't really doing nothing, saying nothing. So I want the youth of America, I'm not assaulting you, but come on, wake up, bro. Stop putting yourself in jail. Stop shining when you don't shine. Get the real message out there that you're scared, you need help, and then you become tough. Then you able to fight with these and see life. Not that, but you could do this. You could get up and be a fighter in life. And not have to fear where you run for a gun every time somebody challenges what you believe in.
Tone, it's been a great interview. I truly enjoyed your presence. It's good to have somebody from my hometown here, you know. And like I said, I'll repeat myself because it's on camera. Anything you need from me to help the community, to help people from getting out the wrong path, you count on Broadway Joel, man.
Thank you. And let me get to my wife. Don't you know I'm gonna call her, baby.
Got time.
It was Broadway Joe. So you already know. Thank you, and God bless to all of you. And stay tuned and stay in, man. Real man doing real thing. This is real.
Thank you, my brother.